Hey everyone, How to Spike here. In my last video, you saw me teach you guys how to turn on an LED and go in depth in the breadboard and the Arduino. In this video, I want to extend on our learning on LEDs, and I'm going to bring in two LEDs, and I want to teach you guys how to deal with two LEDs and turn one and one off, and even add a delay in there so they don't turn on exactly at the same time. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let's get into it. So before we get into the coding stuff, where I teach you how to turn them on separately and stuff like that, we first need to wire it again, and I'll give you a rundown of how that for review and how to wire it. So the first thing, I'm going to grab a jumper wire. Remember, we want to plug it into the ground pin for LEDs, and then we want to connect it to the ground on the breadboard. And once we connect it to just one pin right here, it's going to light up this whole track, and now this whole track is ground. Next, we want to take a jumper wire. Let's use the 8 as a digital pin, and let's connect it just somewhere here. Let's do the same with another jumper wire, because now we have two LEDs. We connect it into, let's say, 4, and connect it here. So now, as you guys can see, I have the yellow jumper wire connected to pin 8 and pin 4. Next, we want to take resistors, two resistors, 220 ohm resistors, as last time. You connect here. There we go. Take the other resistor, connect it as you would, same as the other one. All right, there we go. Now you want to take our LED, and I forgot to mention this in the last video, which is kind of important, but the smaller side, the smaller leg, as you can see, this in the LED, this is called the anode. The longer side is called the cathode. I did say I'd mention this last video, but the smaller side does connect the ground, and the longer side goes towards the resistor. So let's put that in right now. Alright, now let's take our other LED. It's the same thing with this. There's going to be a smaller leg and a longer leg. Remember, connect the anode, which is the smaller leg, to ground. There we go. Okay, now that we have it all connected, now let's get into the coding part. So now that you're in the program for Arduino, now let's start to code it. So before, what I did to code the green LED in the last video, I said int LED is equal to 8, whatever pin it was. The reason why we can't do that now is because we have two LEDs. So imagine I'd say int LED and I set equal to 4. Well, this is not going to make sense because we have one variable and we're trying to make it go to 2. And you just can't do that. What it will just switch the variables. So now we only have a pin connected to 4, but we want 2. We want to have an LED connected to 2 pins. So we want to name it wisely. This is where naming is super important. So since my first LED and I had plug-in 8 is green, I'm just gonna call it green, but you can also just name it 1, whatever. Whatever thing you think it fits best, name it that. So mine is green. And the second one, since it's a yellow LED, I'll just call it yellow. Now, like last video, we need a pin mode. And before, it takes 2 inputs, the pin, which we declared, which is LED green, and then the output. We're going to do the same exact thing for the yellow. And now, we want to do this in the last video, is when I used digital write. We want to do the same thing here. And we want to make it high, which will turn on the LED. We want to turn both of them on, so let's also put the other one at high. All right, so now that we have this coded, go ahead and run it. And this is a good example. It has an error here. As you see, if you have an error, it will look like this. And you see, if we go to pin mode, this LED yellow with only 1 L. So let's change it real quick. 2 L's. And there we go, no errors. And if you look at your Arduino, you should hopefully see 2 LEDs that are both lit up. So as you can see, we have 2 LEDs lit up, so that means our code worked. Congratulations. But we're not done. There's always more we can do and more cool stuff we can do with Arduino. So now that we have the same exact code and they're both high, this means they're just turning on at the same exact time. Let's change that so one turns on and the other turns on. So a thing we can do for this is we can write a command called delay. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It's gonna have a delay in milliseconds. So let's do 1,000 milliseconds. So now, as you can see, now what this code will do is it will turn on the green LED, wait 1,000 milliseconds, and turn on the yellow LED. So now if we hit run, if you look back on your Arduino, you can see one turns on, waits, and the other turns on. So I'll show this for you. So now when I hit run, you can see green one lights up, give it a second, green one lights up, yellow one lights up, and that's pretty cool. So you can imagine you can do lots of stuff with this. You can make them blink in a certain way to maybe a rhythm of a song that requires a lot more technical aspects and a lot more coding and a lot more knowledge of Arduino, but you can see how many projects you can make with this and how cool it can be. So I want to show you one last thing. Alright, so the last thing I want to show all of you is also how to turn off the LED and make it kind of like in a pattern. So we have the green LED turn on, the LED turn off, green LED turn on, yellow LED turn off. But once we do that, you guys are going to see something very interesting that happens. So I'll just code it and we'll see what happens. So now in this code, we see that the green LED turns on, we wait, yellow LED turns on. Now let's wait again for 1,000 milliseconds. And now let's turn off the green LED. So we can just copy and paste this code, except we want to change the high to low to turn off the LED. Now let's wait 1,000 milliseconds. Let's also turn off the yellow LED. So now, what you think it might do is it'll turn on the green LED, wait, turn on the yellow LED, wait, turn off the green LED, wait, and then turn off the yellow LED. But it will do this, except since it's in a void loop, it's in the loop function, this will happen forever and ever until we tell it to stop. But now once I run it, I'll show you that it actually does do this, and it's actually pretty cool. But just keep in mind that when you're doing this stuff in Arduino, that when you do put your main code in the void loop, make sure that you have it stop or something if you want to do a certain amount of times. Alright, so now if I run it, you can see that they both turn off, and now the green one turns on, yellow one turns on, green one turns off, yellow one turns off. But now it keeps doing this loop, this infinite loop, where it's going to go on forever like this. It's going to keep turning on and off the green one and the yellow one. So again, just keep in mind if you want to do this, or if you don't, then tell it to stop, which I'll go into other videos into more in depth about how to make it stop, and other loops like for loops and while loops. But don't worry about that now, because this is just a basic intro video. But keep in mind when you do put it in the void loop, it will loop. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.